Right, lads and lasses. I don't usually do videos face on, but you know, the world's changing in there. So what I want to do today is I'm going to show you how to mix putty. Now, for those of you who do plastering and pointing professionally, skip to the next one because there's nothing really of interest here for you to see. Except maybe I have a few opinions which could differ from yours, or might even tell you something you don't know. I'll begin by talking to you about different suppliers. You know, you've got Womersley's, you've got Mike Y, you've got Chalk Down Lime, you've got Lincolnshire Lime, you've got Anglia Lime, you've got the Old House Store, you've got Lime Stuff, Cornish Lime. The list just goes on. And so when you're making a living from what could be for many people a hobby, you're obviously going to have various different reasons for buying what from whom, and I'm going to give you an example of you know, what motivates me. So like I say, it's lime putty, and I get mine from Chalk Down Lime, which is run by a fella called Declan. That just needs to be up a little bit. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's it. Which is I don't usually wear a berry. I used to, but I swapped over to flat caps for some reason. You know, maybe they felt a bit more countrified or something. But I went to I used to have quite long. I used to have longer hair, but I needed it cutting a bit. So I went to the Istanbul barbers and I said, what's the difference between an English barber and an Istanbul barber? And the guy just said, oh, you know, we're so much better. Anyway, I asked for my money back. And with this haircut I can't even wear a cap. So I'm back to my berry, and to be honest with you, I realised how much I've missed it. But anyway, so that aside, you know, seriously, if you're doing this kind of thing for a living, everyone's got their own preferences for everything they like. Different caps, different hats, different trowels, different hawks, different mixers. This is something I picked up from a bloke called Gypsy Dave out near Whitby, and I bought it in a complete state because it had been caked with resin from the driveway mixers, and didn't even have a stop start button on it. So, you know, gave me a few quid for it and put it in my local hire shop to get it fixed. And so I've got this what you call a forced action mixer, and when you're mixing lime putty, you don't need one of these. You can use anything you like. You can mix it by hand. You can use a cement mixer. You can use a pan mixer. You can use a forced action mixer. You can mix up. You can use a plaster paddle, a plaster drill, a twin paddle mixer, whatever. The important thing is to just get it mixed, and then you have to choose your recipe, choose your ratio. You know, because this is going to be for internal pointing. This is going to be an internal pointing mortar. So I'm doing 1 to 3. I know I can go 1 to 3 because it's internal, and I tend to use putty nowadays for internal work and plastering more than anything. I tend to use quicklime, hot lime for external stuff, because that's very porous, has an exceptionally high free lime content. As lime putty is it's slaked and it's a wet putty added to sand. It means the free lime content isn't as high as a quicklime, but it is, you know, I'd hazard a guess, and I'd say this is probably about as high as a St. Astia NHL2, which you know, is said to be at least 50% free lime, available lime. One of the differences though between putty and NHL is that if brushing up your aggregates is your thing, with your churn brush, putty holds it really nicely. That aside, I tell you why I buy from Declan. It's because he sells good quality gear. I've never had any argument with it before, and it's well packaged, and there's nothing worse than getting a damaged pallet. So whatever I buy from him actually arrives intact. you know, a couple of days later, which is, you know, when your livelihood depends on it, that's what you want. But I'll give you an example, really, what does it for me, right? And now, I don't want to cast aspersions on, by the way, just to diversify slightly, I was trying to remember what I said once I told you this bit. I used to be a teacher. Basically, when the last recession hit and people were going out of business right, left and centre, I realised that you know, going up the scaffold and up the ladders just wasn't an option because the recession was wiping everybody out. Not by the dozens, but by the thousands. So I decided to get myself qualified as a teacher. Something I've been meaning to do for ages, but you know, the tools, the wheelbarrows and the cement mixers kept pulling me back. So I did me PGCE, spent an academic year doing the PGCE, and went off to teach psychology and sociology, and I did some horticulture, because I used to be a gardener, dry stone walling, bit of basic bricklaying, and anything I could get my hands on really, just to keep myself going through the tough times. I knew I was going to do this. Ah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I discovered I had a bit of a love for teaching, and the bottom line is, you know, you can take the boy out of teaching. I've no wish to be involved in it anymore. You know, I had enough after about sort of like 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. Just too highly dictated by government policy in Ofsted. Teachers need to teach, you know, and I still do. I've still got it. If it's in you, you've got to do it, you know. So I'm from Middlesbrough, and an ex-girlfriend of mine used to tut and say, you know, you can take the boy out of Middlesbrough, but you can't take Middlesbrough out of the boy. And it's the same with teaching, you know. You can take the boy out of teaching, but you can't take teaching out of the boy. So I tend to do YouTube videos because I just like doing them, you know. It just satisfies that urge, you know. And there are blokes out there who've been plastering, pointing, and messing around with lime and what have you. You'd probably look at these videos and just go, you know, and fine. I mean, all right, okay, you know. So today we're just doing something on mixing a bit of putty mortar. But anyway, I digress. This is what I do because I just like doing it. So here's something from Declan, right? It's lime putty. Hope you can see that. Can you see it all right from there? I'll try and shift the wheelbarrow around a little bit. So, yeah, here we go. Now, if I bought this, this is it, right? You see how far it is off the surface of the bucket, right? This is almost, pretty much, you know, maybe about sort of 10, perhaps 20 mil away from the lip of the bucket. If I'd have bought this from somebody else, then you can guarantee it would be down there and it would be covered with water. And when I first started, I used to buy mine from, shall we say, without casting aspersions, a certain large supplier from Devon, a fellow with the same name as mine. And I kept getting these buckets, and I kept pouring the excess, the water off the top, you know, this sort of milky stuff, and I just thought, get rid of it, because, you know, it was meant to be a full bucket. It's right down to there. So, you know, it gives me a lot of joy to know that when I take the lid off, like what I've got is I haven't got water, and I haven't got sloppy lime putty that's just going to literally pour out of the bucket. I've got a proper putty, which, you know, it's gonna, because the thing is, okay, we're getting towards the end of the year, and what it means is if you buy some watered down stuff from a major supplier, I mean, there are some great suppliers around. Cornish Lime, to name one. I really like their gear. You know, I've done some very satisfying work. In fact, Tom said he reckons the best lime putty we've ever lime putty job. One of the best, I should say, lime putty jobs we've ever done is using Cornish lime stuff. and there's not an awful lot of difference in the price either. So you know, definitely recommend Cornish lime, definitely recommend Declan Reed, chalk down lime, right? But you stick your gauging trowel in here, and you've got putty, right? Which basically means that you can add your 3 buckets of sand. I keep all mine. Gauging is critical. Okay, never use shovelfuls because shovelfuls are inaccurate. You have to use proper measurements. It's like making a cake. You don't just. I mean, Gordon Ramsay can do it. Mike James can't. Right, and you get colour discrepancies as well if you don't gauge out properly. So this is what I'm talking about. Right, I don't just want to go like that and for it to just slop, because what I'll get when I add the sand, especially if it's wet sand, sometimes it's just unavoidable because you keep the sand outside. Right. You've got wet sand and you add wet putty, you get slop. Okay, so you've got this slop in your wheelbarrow. Where are we now? The first week in September. Temperatures are nice. I don't really need this, but it's going to protect my work gear from, you know, getting absolutely caked in this. But so you know, it's just enough time to stop mortar, to expose mortar to the elements, to evaporate a bit of moisture off it. If you want it for pointing, because pointing mortar's got to be a bit stiffer than plastering, right? So I'd imagine that this will probably be just about right. I'm hoping it'll be just about right. Here's my sand. Now everybody knows what I'm like for my secrets, right? Because there are things I won't give away. Because for me, you know, the Freemasons. I'm not a Freemason, but the Freemasons. They developed a. In fact, it wasn't actually so much the Freemasons. It was what came before them, which was the guilds. And you know, people who used to back in the day be members of guilds, their trade was quite. You know, it was theirs. They paid a lot of money to be trained, because if you're a tradesman, you had a very nice middle class lifestyle, because there was good money in it, because you weren't just some kind of artisan jobbing shoveler. Whatever you used to do was highly sought after, you know, especially for ornate work. So if you're a plasterer, you didn't tell anybody how you plastered or what you put in it, you know. So what I'll do is I'll show you. I'll say that's the kind of thing that I'm looking for as far as sharp is concerned. Right? Everybody makes their choice, but at the end of the day, for me, I walk into a building, I try and get a feel for what it actually wants, and then eventually somewhere along the line it'll tell you. It's rather like walling. You know, when you're building a wall, it doesn't make any difference whether it's wet or dry. You pick up a stone, and that stone will tell you the way it wants to be laid. Right. So everything's gauged out. 3 buckets of sand, pan mixer. Like I say, it don't make any difference how you mix it, just get it mixed. So I'll go quiet for a little while. I wish I'd put the radio on if I thought to give you something else to listen to besides me slopping around. There's no point in me trying to talk to you whilst I'm making all this noise. So bear with me, okay? Right, so that's number 3. So over there, I've got 3 empty buckets. So if anyone comes out of the house, if the postman arrives, you know, or if there's an Amazon delivery, right? Oh, here's Doris. Right, come out and see you. All right, darling, come see what's going on. I get distracted. I know that I've got 3 empty buckets. I'm not thinking, oh God, how many? Is it 2 or 4? I can't remember. Right, okay, so little things help your day go along. Right, I'm just going to put these down. some people will castigate you for not putting the guard down. You can already see the safety mechanism is broken. That's a little bit too much health and safety for me. You know, if I'm gonna have a guard which works, I'm gonna have a hard hat and a high vis jacket for doing a job like this. Gauging trowel. Bucket trowel. Right, so there you go. There is one thing I'll share with you. When it comes to internal pointing with putty, the finish is very important. So one of the reasons I use putty is because it holds the aggregates just how I want them. Doesn't hold on to them too much, doesn't smother them. But you know, for a bit of decorative work, you want to be able to see your aggregates. So what I do is, not all the time, just when I feel it, when I feel like it, when the moment grabs me, is I like to chuck a bit of clinker into the mortar, because for me, I like to try and create a bit of a link with the past, because when rock was originally kilned in the old village lime kilns, you get all sorts of crap going in there. There'd be wood, and there'd be, you know, just all sorts of rubbish. You know, as far as I know, it's where the it's where all the rubbish was burnt. When it comes out the kiln, there's coal dust and bits of twigs and birds' nests and all that sort of stuff. and a bit of clinker. So it's not just decorative effect. I'll actually try and, you know, there's no horsehair going in there because it's not needed, because it's pointing mortar. If it was plastering mortar, there'd be no clinker going into it, but there would be horsehair or fibres. I'm not a big fan of fibres, but sometimes it's a bit difficult to get hold of horsehair. But I'm lucky because we've got stables next door, and I get mine from Jill. And I tell you what, she came out with some dog hair today. I've got some husky hair to go in, and what you can do if you want is, if you chuck a load of soft hair in, it's just going to fall up. But if you mix it plaster, then one of the things you can do is put your hair into the water. Depends on which hair you've got. You put your hair into the water, it will disperse, and then you can pour it evenly into your mix, because that'll actually save it clumping up and sticking to pretty much everything. It'll still stick to your blades, and it will still stick to the paddles around here. But yeah, so it's the first time I used the sharp sand before. I have to decide whether I'm going 1 to 3 or whether I'm going to go 1.5 to 3. Just as a little FYI, I speak to a number of people who go, "Oh yeah, we're doing a 3 to 1 mix, right?" And being a pedant, it's awful being a pedant. Being a pedant, I just want to get out of them and just say it's not 3 to 1, because you always specify your binder first. Like if you're mixing a cement mortar and you want to do, say for example, 1 cement, 2 lime, a historic cement mortar, you want to say 1 cement, 2 lime, 9 sand for some pointing. Not that I'd recommend anyone ever use cement, but if you have to, go with a mix like that. You always specify your binder first. You always specify the cement first. So 1 to 2 to 7, 1 to 2 to 9, 1 to 1 to 5. It's always cement first, and then your so it's always your binder first, and then your plasticizer. So second comes your lime, and then third is the number of buckets of sand. Right, okay, so I'll take a bit of that out at some point, just have a feel of it, and then make a decision as to whether I'm going 1.5 to 3 or just 1 to 3. But the heavier you go on the sands, the more decorative it is. So I don't know. What I sometimes do, and I've got lists of spreadsheets of all the different mortars that I do for all my different clients, and like say, what I might do is just go for a pan like this, or I have saucepans and stuff like that in the van. Everyone thinks my van's full of expensive tools. It's not. It's full of buckets and cans and things that I can measure out with. So might just chuck a saucepan in of extra saucepan of putty. But anyway, so that's it. And I point with that. So what I'll do is, I've got my barrows there, and I'll pack say 3 barrows out with a pointing mortar, and then I'll put a bit of carpet over it. I've got some plastering to do tomorrow, so I'm just sit in the garden with a bit of good old bit of canvas tarp over it, ready for Monday morning for some pointing. Alright, so I think I'll switch it off now, because there's not much more I can say really. Thanks for tuning in.